Continuing my videos about the matter of Erised, today we'll be discussing these three characters you guys suggested to me: Neville, Narcissa, and McGonagall. So let's get into it. Much like Harry, Neville also grew up without his parents, although in a very different sort of way. While both his mom Alice and dad Frank were still alive, they had been tortured into sanity by Death Eaters soon after Lord Voldemort's fall from power, and spent the rest of their days at St. Mungo's Hospital. Neville was subsequently raised by his grandmother, Augusta Longbottom. Neville's grandmother was a stern and amazing woman who was concerned when her grandson did not display early signs of magic. She often chided Neville for not living up to his family's honor, and was partly the reason for Neville's lack of self-confidence early in his school years. For Harry, simply seeing his family was enough. After moving in with the Dursleys, he had never been truly loved as a family member, so the deepest desire in his heart to have a loving family. And so, Harry sat in front of the mirror for hours, smiling and wavering at his parents, his grandparents, his aunts and uncles, minus the Dursleys. You would expect that Neville would see his parents as well, but that's not enough. Neville grew up with his parents and probably visited them regularly at St. Mungo's. Not exactly the deepest desire in his heart to see them in real life. What then does Neville see? He sees his parents, but this time he can talk to them. His parents are alive and well, and are being taken good care of at St. Mungo's, but their minds are not there. They realize that their son is with them, but they can't talk to him, can't communicate, except by indirect signs. What is the desire deep within Neville's heart? To be able to talk to his parents again, to hear their voices, to be able to convey his emotions to them, to say, "Mom and Dad, I love you," and to hear, "We love you too, son." Now let's move to the second part, which is Neville's Hogwarts years, and what would Neville see in the Matter of Erised now. Neville barely made it to Hogwarts, as the book and the Quill of Acceptance almost missed him due to lack of evidence magical ability. Neville was incapable of feeling truly confident in his years at Hogwarts. He even asked the Sorting Hat to place him in Hufflepuff, as he was intimidated by Gryffindor's reputation for bravery. So Neville was viewed as someone unskilled and with no special magical abilities, and was never taken seriously by the others.
Why is it always me?
Neville's desire now is to change the previous situation and be better he ever was. When Neville joined Dumbledore's army, he took that seriously. For him, it wasn't just about hanging out with his friends and learning a few new spells. It was about training to fight back. It was about knowing when to put your life on the line. Neville had to work hard for his success, which just made his achievements even more impressive. He worked hard on every new jinx and counter curse Harry taught them, working harder than anyone else in the room. Not to mention going to the Department of Mysteries to fight alongside his friends and against the Death Eaters, even when attacked by Bellatrix Lestrange, the woman who had already affected his family, so much Neville didn't break. Neville even got rid of his father's wand and got himself a new one from Ollivander, a wand that chose him and would always be right for him. So if Neville would have looked into the Matter of Erised, he would also see his parents, but this time they're being really proud of their son and capable of understanding what a brave person he became, finally proving his worthiness to the family, making them realize that their son came from nothing to something. He would prove to them that he really deserved to be in Gryffindor. Also, it would have been nice having a conversation with his parents. He tells his dad with pride about the time he cast a perfect standing spell in Dumbledore's army, but this time, instead of a blank expression, Dad slaps Neville on the back and says, "Good job, my son, keep it up." And his mom goes, "I look at you and I can't help but see a young Frank, a strong and brave boy full of courage."
We're gonna make them proud, Neville. That's a promise.
The rest was just history. Neville remained at Hogwarts and resist against the Death Eaters regime and the new headmaster Severus Snape. He revived Dumbledore's army even without the trio and took refuge in the Room of Requirement. Neville literally rebelled against authority, refusing to give in. As for the Battle of Hogwarts, Neville fought bravely and with no hesitation. Neville at this time, like the rest of the fighter on Hogwarts' side, would see nothing but them winning the Battle of Voldemort's being gone. Neville was the one who killed the Snake Nagini, Voldemort's Horcrux, that ensured his downfall and the end of the Second Wizarding War. Neville's parents couldn't have been prouder, and he really wished they could be there to witness it. Moving now to our second character, Narcissa Malfoy. Narcissa Black was the youngest daughter of Cygnus and Drowilla Black. Narcissa was brought up in the House of Black, where she had two older sisters, Bellatrix and Andromeda. The three girls are looking alike, but their path and thoughts were completely different, so each of them would take a different road than the other. Narcissa was taught the philosophy of blood purity from a young age, and grew up prejudiced in favor of purebloods. What could be said about Narcissa's childhood is that it was perfect. I don't think she would have desired something if she had looked into the mirror of Erised. Narcissa started her education at Hogwarts when she was 11 years old and was sorted into Slytherin house like her two other sisters. While at Hogwarts, she met her future husband, Lucius Malfoy. After graduating from Hogwarts, Narcissa married Lucius, who was just as wealthy and pureblood, inclined as the Black family Narcissa descended from. At that point, the Malfoys lived an excellent and richness life at Malfoy Manor, located in the southern English country of Wiltshire. There wasn't a thing they needed and couldn't afford. Her husband introduced Narcissa to the lifestyle of the Death Eaters, although she never took the Dark Mark and was never officially a Death Eater herself. Narcissa believed in the importance of blood purity and supported her husband in following Lord Voldemort. The couple had one son named Draco, who went on to begin his education at Hogwarts at the age of 11. And way before that, Narcissa and Lucius survived the First Wizarding War unharmed. Everything kept going well for Narcissa and the family for the years that followed. Until the year 1996, the start of the Second Wizarding War. Things got even worse after her husband Lucius failed to obtain the prophecy for Voldemort. Due to that, Lucius was sent to Azkaban. Narcissa was distraught over her husband's imprisonment, as well as Voldemort's later treatment of her family. Narcissa also was out of control that her son Draco was being sent on a suicide mission. She became ruthless, desperate, and determined to do anything to save her son, even if that meant revealing information about Voldemort's secret mission. If Narcissa had looked into the mirror of Erised, she would have seen peace and happiness for her family. Narcissa is highly family-oriented. She would have seen her husband, Lucius, getting out of Azkaban, coming back to her, but most importantly, the family living without Lord Voldemort's wrath grabbing their neck. Also, with Voldemort being gone, Draco would no longer be assigned for the assassination of Albus Dumbledore. Thus, her boy will regain his mood and joy. It seemed that Narcissa and her family would have been honored when Voldemort chose their manor, but neither Narcissa nor Lucius seemed very happy about it. They were extremely uncomfortable with the arrangement. They were considered nothing more than servants. In fact, Narcissa showed on more than one occasion that she would happily betray Voldemort to save Draco, like when she lied to the Dark Lord in the Forbidden Forest, claiming that Harry was dead. Narcissa did that because she was doing it out of love for Draco and Voldemort couldn't see this. When the battle resumed, Narcissa and Lucius abandoned the Death Eaters and searched excitedly for Draco. And even after the battle, Narcissa, Lucius and Draco sat in the Grey Hall during the celebrations, looking unsure that they belonged there. They seemed uncomfortable with their predicament, but didn't leave. This once again displays that all Narcissa did care about was her son and husband. She put them in high regard and above everything else. Our third character here is Minerva McGonagall. To discuss Minerva's deepest desire, we must go back to her earlier life, before the Harry Potter books. After graduating from Hogwarts, Minerva was offered a position at the Department of Magical Law Enforcement of the British Ministry of Magic. During these months, an 18-year-old Minerva meets Dougal McGregor, a local muggle who was the handsome, clever, and funny son of a local farmer. Minerva fell in love with McGregor, being the first and only time in her life that she might have been falling in love with someone. Eventually, McGregor proposed to Minerva on a field, and she accepted his offer. That night, however, Minerva was unable to tell her parents of her engagement. Thinking about her future, she realized that wedding a muggle who didn't know that she was a witch would mean Minerva would follow her mother's footsteps and live unhappily with her wand locked away, destroying all of her ambitions. Early next morning, Minerva went to tell McGregor she had changed her mind and could not marry him. She could give him no good reason for a change of heart, leaving McGregor devastated, and left for London 3 days later. This month were to prove some of the most difficult of Minerva's life. Minerva was offered a job in the Transfiguration Department under head of department Albus Dumbledore. By this time, Minerva was shocked to learn from her mother that Dougal had married the daughter of another farmer. Though her early years at Hogwarts, Minerva remained close friends with her former boss in the ministry, Elphinstone. During one visit, he proposed marriage to Minerva, but she was surprised, embarrassed, and still in love with Dougal. She declined. However, the two still remained in contact for years. At the end of the First Wizarding War, Minerva suffered personal heartbreak, the loss of Dougal MacGregor, her last lover, who was murdered in a random anti-Muggle attack by Death Eaters. This last news was a terrible blow to Minerva, who wondered if she would have been able to save him if she had married him. So if McGonagall had looked into the matter of Erised, she would see herself with Dougal, probably her accepting her proposal and leaving the Wizarding War to live with her love. McGonagall did really put magic over love, and that was something she maybe regretted. As I mentioned earlier, she wondered if she would have been able to save him if she had married him. Elphinstone, who had never stopped loving her, proposed every now and then, until she finally accepted after Dougal's death. Their engagement happened during the summertime stroll around the lake in the Hogwarts grounds. The retired Elphinstone bought a small cottage for the two of them in Hogsmeade, so that Minerva could travel easily to work every day. The couple had no children. 3 years into their marriage, Elphinstone sadly died from a venomous tentacular bite. This could be another thing that Minerva could see in the matter of Erised. Elphinstone being alive and the two having at least one child together. Minerva was already devastated by her first lover's death, and she couldn't handle another one leaving her again. If you want to check other characters and what you would see in the matter of Erised, click on this playlist over here. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon.